What's up, guys? I just have an update. Ever since I got this new RX 7900 XTX Hellhound, I did not realize how much power these things can actually draw with just two 8-pin PCI Express if you use custom cable mod uh, non non extension uh, direct direct contact wires. If you use the wire the wire that goes directly from your power supply, and there's no interconnect, like there's no extension cable. Like a lot of people use the extension sleeves with their original cables that come with their power supplies. And what that does, don't do that because it does this. It actually increases the resistance and lowers your maximum power draw that you can draw from your power supply, because even though it's the the card is trying to tell the power supply how much it needs, the resistance is changing that value as it travels down the wire, goes through that second set of connectors, and also the excess wire. So the longer the wire draw, so let's say you have like 2 feet of wire draw originally from your power supply, and then you have an additional 2 feet or foot and a half or whatever it is. That additional two power connectors, the female and the male end that you have to connect to actually extend the wire to your card, is going to add resistance, and same the same thing goes with the wire itself. And you should always use 16 AWG wire, 16 American wire gauge wire. 40 strand is my preference. This is I've done the research. Uh, Cable mod uses nitrogen injected, oxygen free, um, 40 thread, uh, 16 gauge wire, and they use direct solder right on the on each pin. And there's no, I guess, not just a crimp. Like a lot of cheaper companies use a crimp. They just crimp it down, and it can lose. It'll gain resistance over time because it like oxidizes. These cables don't oxidize, and I'll tell you how much power you can draw with just two. You can see it right here. There's only two. This is uh, some people will say that you can only draw 300 watts from the two, and then an additional 70 or 75 watts from the PCI Express slot. That is untrue if you have good quality cables, and I'll show you. It's running right now. Let's take a look. Okay, here we have hardware info, or hardware monitor. You can use hardware info 64 too. I have both, and I've confirmed it on both. Here's the sensor for all for the Radeon RX 7900 XTX, and then you go down here. Let's see, pull back. See, there's a difference between the total graphics power and the total board power. Total board power is everything that the board is using, drawing from the system. My bad. So the total board power right there, when I was playing the game Ready or Not, it was drawing 564 watts. Even if you take into account that there might be an additional 70 or 75 watts, let's just say 70 watts. Let's take that number. I'm not really good at math here, man. You're gonna have to bear with me. kind of an idiot sometimes. Calculator. 564. Let's say minus 70 because these are low power draw PCI Express connectors. At least that's what AMD says about their cards. They don't draw very much from the PCI Express slots. I think they draw like 5 or 10 watts less. Let's just call it 70. Minus 70 watts equals 494, and then you divide that into 2 cables. Divided by 2 cables. 247 watts per cable. That's how much right there. Minimum that I'm drawing from both of those cables. 247 watts per cable. So that just shows you the value of good cables and not using cable extensions. Again, you saw it here on my channel. Proof's in the pudding right there. Take one last good look at it. Goes all the way up here. And that's coming from my Radeon RX 7900 XTX. I just thought I'd show you guys that. Just a little bit of advice, a little bit of wisdom. And don't use pigtails. Just don't. Because even if you can draw, let's say 288 watts total, that's what theoretically what you can pull from a good wire, from a good set of 8-pin power connector. Even if you could pull 288 watts, that leaves a deficit. If that card wants 564 watts, it's going to try to draw that. And you're either going to have problems with your system not having the power that it needs, or you're going to have heat up and melting of your connector if there's no safety feature activated, you know. So just use 2 separate non-pigtail PCI Express 8-pin PCI Express cords straight to your power supply with no extensions. Don't use cable extensions. Like I said, every time you add cable extensions or excess wire, you are adding resistance. You are lowering the amount of power, and this has been proven. I've proven at least a loss of about 142 watts. That's a lot of power that you're losing right there just by using cable extensions. Anyways, if you need extra length, get a set from Cable Mod so that you have 2, or if your card uses 3 of them, 3 8-pin PCI Express power connectors. Just buy whatever length you need in 2 or 3 cords, 2 or 3 separate cords, and you'll be able to draw clean power, and you won't have any issues with if you have a good power supply. I recommend a good expensive 850, or if you don't want to go for an expensive 850, you can go for a mid-range 1000. It gives you a little more headroom. I've tested this power supply, and my Asus ROG Strix 850 watt power supply can actually draw safely 1197 watts before actually tripping and turning off. So I would say I'm comfortable drawing about 1100 watts from that power supply, because it actually has um, platinum ratings when they tested it. When Gamers Nexus tested my power supply, it ran with even though it's rated for gold, it ran on 92 to 93% efficiency, which is rated platinum rated power efficiency. I thought that was pretty cool. Anyways, all right, guys. Light signing out.